Ready? Okay, we're ready to start. If everybody could take a seat. Thank you. Nau mai haere mai piki mai, and welcome to this council meeting of the 31st of October 2024. Welcome to elected members, staff. We've got a few members of the public here today too, and quite a full agenda, so we'll work our way through. If I could ask Councillor Hanford to do the council blessing, please.
Sure, morena e te whānau. Ia mātou e whiriwhiri ana i ngā take kei mua i o mātou aro. I pono ana mātou ka kaha tonu ki te whakapau mahara huapai mo ngā hāpore e mahi nei mātou. Me kaha hoki mātou katoa kia whaihua kia tōtika tā mātou mahi, a mā te maia te tiro whakamua me te hihiri, ka taia, te arahi i roto i te kotahitanga me te aroha.
Kia ora. Councillor Hanford.
Yes, I can read in English as well.
We've had a request to have it in English, so we'll do that.
As we deliberate on the issues before us, we trust that we will reflect positively on the communities we serve. Let us all seek to be effective and just so that with courage, vision and energy, we provide positive leadership in a spirit of harmony and compassion.
Kia ora. So we'll move on to item 3, apologies. I've got 2 apologies here. Councillor Kathy Spires and Councillor Rob Coford will note he's on a leave of absence. So I'm moving the apology from Councillor Spires, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Hanford. All in favour? Aye. That's carried. Any declarations of interest relating to items on the agenda today? There's nothing under item 5 or 6. So item 6.1, we do have hearings today, or rather a hearing. We have Martin Weil, who's speaking to us on the proposed dangerous, affected and insanitary buildings policy submission. Policy. Yes, thank you, Martin. Come up. We'll just wait and get your microphone sorted.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In my submission, I mentioned a number of buildings in relation to this update of the legislation, and they're buildings around the Kapiti area which I felt really went against what the legislation stood for. But I don't want to go into those. I want to use my time on one building alone, and it is the community centre, the Ngahina Community Centre across the way here. It was and wasn't a surprise to me to see that the decision was made to demolish, and in fact it's in the process of being demolished at the moment. Personally, I'm not convinced that the building is an earthquake risk. It's a wooden frame building. It's not a concrete or brick building, which are the top risk buildings. Secondly, it was cited that the building had black mould issues. I have been a user of the building for many years. I hire it as a venue for my business, running defensive driving courses. I had seen no evidence, and particularly with the nose. However, when I asked around, I found out that the black mould issues seemed to be in one wing of the building and didn't seem to affect the whole building. And the third one was to do with dampness and leakiness. Now, I ask myself the question, if I was the owner of this building, in brackets, and I am, what would I do? Well, first of all, for the leaky situation, I would get a roofer to come and check out the building. Now, I noticed that the building has concrete tile roof and will have metal valleys in it, and the valleys are usually the first thing to rot out. Are they replaceable? Yes, they are. Does it cost? Yes, it does. Does it cost more than replacing the building? Heck no, it doesn't. Okay, so if the roof structure is in question, perhaps the structure may need to be restructured, and perhaps new roofing put on it. As far as the leaky building is concerned, if it's in the walls, then what I would do, is have a builder pull off all the linings and find out where it is and fix it up. Is it doable? Yes, it is. So to me, the cost of less than $1 million to restructure the building, to fix it up and get it usable, seems much more sensible than bulldozing it and then building a new one for which I have to pay. Why are we doing this? Our Prime Minister spoke to local government about pulling back on the feel-good projects, sticking to core business, and giving value for money for ratepayers. Now, I don't mean to be offensive here, but some of you may not be here for very long. You may be here for a few years, but the debt that remains for a feel-good project to build a lovely community centre will remain after you, and we have to pay for it. I would suggest that we need to stop doing this, as the Prime Minister pointed out, and be more cost-effective at this stage. I also want to say that I went through 4 rounds of consultation. I met with previous mayor and his deputy, and also went through 3 what are they, contracted consultations. I was really surprised, actually, that the mayor told me that they had consulted with consulted with the public in various situations. So they'd gone to the strawberry fair, or they'd gone down to the Saturday morning market or whatever. And I said, well, it's great to ask people what they think of the community centre. But did they consult the people who are the venue hirers, the regular users of the community centre? And no, they hadn't, because I had not been asked.
You've got another half a minute to go.
I realise that this is in relation to a dangerous, leaky and affected buildings legislation, but I am pointing it to a building in our area run by the council, and I don't think the process has been done satisfactorily.
Great, thank you very much for your submission today. Do I have any questions? We're not going to answer any of the points made in the submission. Any questions for Mr. Weil? There don't appear to be any. Thank you so much for your input into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
So move on to item 7, public speaking time for items relating to the agenda. First of all, we have a couple of people zooming, well, one person zooming in with 2 submissions, I believe, and that's Pat Doonan. Do we have him available online? He's just joining, so we'll just hold a minute while we get that sorted.
Hello?
There you
hear
are,
me?
Pat. Do you want to say something? You just said something and it was a bit quiet, so we'll just make sure that we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me satisfactorily?
We can. We can't see you if you want to be seen. I don't know if you want to be seen.
So I just turned the video on.
Oh,
Sorry.
it was on for a second.
Yeah.
Great. We can see you. We can hear you. If you'd like to. Oh, we can't see you again. Oh, hang on. He's on the big screen. Great. Yep, we can see you. Very good. So if you'd like to start your submission, I understand you have 2 submissions you're presenting today. Is that right?
No, I just really have one submission. I may have confused people because I just made the point that I am actually speaking on behalf of the Waikanae and Peka Peka Beach Residents Society. So I put in a submission, or my wife and I did, and also the society, but it's all one.
It's all one. Great. That's clear. Thank you very much. You can start when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Well, I first want to say thank you for the time that I got when I was overseas. I'm back in New Zealand. I appreciated how the staff accommodated that. Secondly, that I'm very pleased to see the recommendation in the staff report. I commend the process to some extent that has resulted in the recommendation that there be no change to the Otaki-Waikanae boundary. I have earlier presented in my reasoning, but I recognise that one of the decisive matters has been the analysis of the submissions, where they came from people who were residents or ratepayers who were directly affected by the boundary change. So I'm very pleased with that and urge councillors to make the final step of approving it and thereby creating a situation that hopefully will avoid any need for an appeal to the Local Government Commission, because you would be, or the proposition is in compliance with the Local Electoral Act without needing a review. So, of course, someone else or a submitter could trigger a review, I recognise, but hopefully won't. I just really then wanted to turn briefly to a comment on the process. I realise there's been a lot of effort put in. I think that one has to, well, I suggest that the council should really review the survey and how the wording of the survey was formulated. The problem being that clearly the question about the overall structure resulted in a lot of people commenting upon the Maori ward, saying they didn't like it, and then having a discussion about the Maori ward, which was irrelevant. I think this wording could have been this problem could have been avoided if the preamble of the question had been a bit expanded and had said, given that the Maori ward matter is decided and cannot be changed, although it will be considered up by a referendum, your view is sought on the way it has been accommodated, namely by removing one of the 3 district councillors. Do you agree or not? I think that would have been much more helpful and meant that you would have had less irrelevant submissions. Similarly, the question regarding the boundary at Waikanae was described as optional, but there was no guidance given about the more relevance to the people near the boundary. And you have addressed the problem by the staff examining the addresses of submitters, and that's fine, but it is actually sort of, from a democratic point of view, slightly dysfunctional, because it means that people, such as myself, commenting or looking at it, don't actually know which of the submissions is one that has been influential or not. And I think there could have been another way of getting around that to make it so it was more transparent. Finally, I wished to put in front of the council the issue of making or opening a discussion with the Department of Statistics or Statistics New Zealand about this question of boundaries of mesh blocks being down the middle of roads, in particular Te Horo Road and School Road. You have to have the boundary conforming to a mesh block boundary. They put the mesh block boundaries from way back down the middle of roads so that their census collectors in the days when they walked around did not have to zigzag across the road. They were either doing a full side of a road or, and it was more simple. But the result is the kind of problem that you have heard from somebody regarding the two sides of the roads being in different wards. So I think that it would be appropriate for the council to open a discussion with Statistics New Zealand, which it's entitled to do, asking for a reconsideration of the mesh block boundaries in that area. I suggest there need to be work done to sort of decide what would be a kind of optimal set of mesh blocks, regardless of where the decision regarding which ward, but to avoid having a boundary down the middle of the road. It would require a bit of work to, not just to go into Statistics New Zealand and just ask broadly the question. You need to know what you would do with the answer. So, Chair, I'd urge you to consider that. Also, perhaps to take it up with Local Government New Zealand and with the Local Government Commission, because it is clearly a problem that the boundaries have that effect. Chair, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Wilson.
Well, first, just a quick comment. Thank you very much, Pat, for all of your involvement. A great example of the expertise and knowledge that's available to us from our community. Brendan Duffy, as you probably know, is the chair of the Local Government Commission, so it's quite handy having somebody who's pretty much a local. If the Commission are of a mind to do something other than what we're recommending, is the Waikanae and Peka Peka Beach Residents Association going to go further with this?
The Commission will not have any involvement in this matter unless a submitter appeals, and they would have to appeal in a certain way, which is that they would have to point to an alternative, although albeit they could point to the council's own original proposal. But absent an appeal, there won't be any further Local Government Commission involvement. If there was an appeal, we would, that is, the Society would certainly join and support the council's position at the hearing of a Local Government Commission consideration of the matter. Sure.
Great.
And we also would try to drum up further support, because there would be a submission process prior to the Local Government Commission hearing. I think they might be quite annoyed, but they would have to respond if there was an appeal, because they have their work cut out, given that, as with this representation review, the Maori ward issue, the way the government's done it has meant that there's a lot of more representation reviews right now than normal.
Yes, the government managed to confuse that for everybody. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.
Councillor Pavanov.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you. I reiterate the comments that Councillor Wilson said in terms of all the work that you have done, I suppose, over some considerable period of time in terms of making submissions in this space. I'll ask you this question, but I'm not sure whether it's potentially more of a staff question. So if someone did appeal or a group appealed the decision, when that is considered, is it actually only the point that is they're wanting to have considered, or can it be opened up to other matters? Like, for example, if someone appealed against the actual boundary line, could there then be a conversation about where those mesh block lines actually are?
So I'm actually going to park that question for when we consider this on the report to be answered by staff. Not that I don't think you're capable of answering it, Pat, but it's just more appropriate as it's kind of outside the scope of your submission for staff to answer it.
Thank you, Pat.
Could I, if you don't mind, Chair, just say
Sure.
it's worth reading the 2022 decision of the Commission, because at one point in their determination regarding the Kapiti representation, they directly address that question as it happens. They do it inadvertently, but they do state that they can look at everything. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think that question just very elegantly just been answered. Thank you so much. I reiterate the comments from our Waikanae ward councillors about their amount of work and expertise that's been applied to your submissions on this matter, and indeed other matters, Pat. So thank you very much for your attendance today.
Thank you, and thanks for the time, and thanks to the staff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ka kite. So next we have Salima Padamzi speaking to item 10.7, notice of motion, and Quentin Pools coming up as well. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very
Welcome.
much. Janet, gives us great pleasure as Coastal Ratepayers United to formally present the Coastal Hazard Risk Assessment for the Kapiti Coast to the Kapiti Coast District Council. This is strange, isn't it? Would you like me to start again? Well, it gives us great pleasure, Coastal Ratepayers United, to formally present the Coastal Hazard Risk Assessment for the Kapiti Coast to the Kapiti Coast District Council. Crew recognise that a legally compliant scientific report is essential for the completion of the coastal hazard section of the district plan, and that has been the problem for the last 10, 11 years. A significant segment of the Kapiti community produced a report that the council found challenging to complete, and I think, you know, it's something I'm going to bring up later on today, but I think it gives a flavour of where we can aid each other. This report was formally commissioned and paid for by Crew late last year. The report's terms of reference largely mirrored sections 24, 25 and 27 of the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement 2010. Unfortunately, this alignment was not achieved in the two previous coastal hazard reports commissioned by Kapiti Coast District Council. This report today satisfies the requirements of both the RMA and New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement 2010. The author of the report, Dr. DeLonghi, has given a dynamic view of the coastal processes that could contribute to coastal hazards on our coast. He has also critiqued Jacobs Reports 1 and 2, finding that they lacked robustness and relied on implausible extreme events due to outdated modelling and improperly applied theories. crew would formally love to acknowledge the support provided by the KCDC staff. All requests for data and maps that underpin this report were addressed promptly. And I must talk about that. The data that is in this report came from KCDC. It's raw data, and it's the same raw data that was used by Jacobs, we understand, or was supplied to Jacobs for their report. Our special thanks go to Chris and Jason and Emily for corralling those two. I think she did the hardest work. So it was a really great ability, and it shows what we can do as a community working in with the council. This project demonstrates the effectiveness of collaboration between KCDC and the community. It highlights the community's expertise, which may not be readily accessible to KCDC, and illustrates that project costs can be effectively minimised through such partnerships. And with that, I'd like to formally present and table the Coastal Hazard Risk Assessment for the Kapiti Coast. I'd love to give it to you, Jan. I'll warn you about your bedtime reading.
That is certainly a formidable read. Thank you very much, and especially thank you for your positive comments about the efforts of our staff and the positive collaboration that's happened. Thanks for taking this initiative to address the concerns from the community, and for all the work that's gone in, not just in terms of this report, but over the years to advocate for your community and our community. So I'll now open the floor to questions. Councillor Wilson?
Yep, I'll just start by reiterating what I just said to Pat. The expertise that we have out in our community and the willingness to make that expertise available is just a huge asset. I'm really proud of the fact that we currently live in an environment where that is accepted and welcomed, which is terrific. And so there's a whole bunch of ways forward here, I think. The report itself gave me a migraine.
Wait until you read the peer review.
Yeah, so that's my question. A long way of getting around the question. Yeah, so the peer review itself, coming from the second best university in New Zealand, after the one
I can add to that.
So when's that coming?
So council already has the peer review. We submitted it on Tuesday.
Ah, cool.
But Victoria University ran out of time to finish the review. So we've found a second peer reviewer. But the Victoria University peer reviewer is willing to publicly endorse this report.
All right, okay.
They just ran out of time to do the peer review academically.
Okay. So is there an intention to carry on with that process, or are you going to just stay with
Well, there
what
is a
you've got?
peer review. It's done.
Yeah.
You have it. You have the report. So I guess the ball is in your court.
Yeah, okay. No, that's cool.
I think I'd like to pick up on your earlier comment though, Nigel. I think it's a challenge that you guys should consider, because, I've been astounded, in the 20 odd years I've been here living permanently on the Kapiti Coast, is the expertise you've got in the community, and it's not utilised by the council. I think there's a cheaper way, and possibly you've got to change the KPIs of Darren. Maybe change it so he gets rewarded for bringing the community in rather than shutting the community out. I know it's what Darren has worked through, and we've been impressed with what you've been doing since you've arrived here, Darren. But, I think I'd like to see more utilisation of the resources we've got. I think it'll make things a lot cheaper. I know I know what it cost you to get your previous reports, and I know what it's cost us to get our report, and you'd be blown away with the differences. You know, I think there is such good expertise. You know, even if it's just negotiating a contract at times, you know, people are doing it in a business sense rather than from a government sense, and therefore they can drive a harder bargain because it's their dollar rather than the amorphous anyone's dollar. So I think it's something worthwhile thinking about.
Councillor Cooper.
Thanks, Quentin. Just a quick question. So today we receive the report with no obligation to use it or use it in any formal way. What would be your hope for the document in terms of the future of it?
So
One
council
question.
is currently under reviewing Chapter 4 of the proposed district, well, of the former district plan. So currently, Chapter 4, which is the coastal hazard chapter in this district plan, is run on the 1999 long-term, on the 1999 district plan. So you have one chapter that's from 1999. And it's my understanding that council will now be looking to rewrite that chapter. And to rewrite that chapter, there are two parts. There's the science, and then there are the rules that apply. So the science that council currently holds do not meet the RMA threshold for district planning purposes. This report is fully compliant with the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement that meets the RMA threshold for district planning. So I guess that's where you are.
Councillor Halliday.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Long time coming. Really great to see you guys. Had a quick
Thank
flick
you.
through it the other day, and we're going to have to sit down and really go through it in depth. Might have to come back and get some clarity like I did in the last Jacobs report.
Yeah, well, there will be a chance because Dr. DeLonghi will be giving a full briefing to
That's
this
right, yep.
council on the, I think, 19th of November.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Look, my question actually, I'm just curious, taking on board your comments just then, Quentin, you've obviously been involved in this process for a while, and I just wanted to clear up with regards to what the approach has been like this triennium compared to previous trienniums with regards to working with you. The comments you made, Quentin, were about working collaboratively, working with the community a lot more. Have you seen that that's happened in the last 2 years?
Short answer, yes. But I'll expand on that. I think it was a dramatic change, and the change was when Darren came in. And we have noticed totally, you know, within the council, you know, within the political side, there's always those who run with us or don't run with us. You know, you're always going to get that tension. But the great thing is there's been communication with council staff. Prior to Darren arriving, we couldn't even get an email answered for over 2 years from council. It was shocking. You know, we were, I guess, the big bad ogres in this area, as you know, and I guess some council staff had been burnt in the process. Also, I think the other problem was that there'd been such a churn of council staff that there wasn't the institutional knowledge. You'd lost it, and therefore people were coming into the planning area and saying, "Oh," yeah, and they were very scared of, you know, because there was a team out there with greater knowledge. Instead of utilising that knowledge and trying to get on side like the current team have, they shut the door.
So, yeah, sorry, I'll just end that now because I don't like past staff to be disparaged any more than I like present staff to be disparaged. So
Yeah,
I'll just close that off.
It was a commentary, sorry.
And just closing that question off from my end, the reason I brought that up was because as a council table, we get very general comments about our efforts, if you like. We're very easily rolled into previous trienniums. as
So
such.
I'd actually just quite like us to focus on the receiving of this report
Okay.
today.
But okay,
be
well,
great.
just finishing off, it's really good to hear those comments. Thank you, Quinton.
So I'd just like to make a comment. I would really like to thank Chris Pervin for all her efforts, because without her stepping up and working with us, this would not have been a success today. We would have probably ended up in legal action.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. Is Chris in the room? Make sure that's passed on. Great, so I'm not seeing any more questions. What I'll do is I'll just rattle through members' business. Bede, sorry.
All good. No, thank you. Yeah, great bit of advocacy from you guys. Good. Well done for staying the course for your community, whether people agree with you or not. That's not the point. Just a quick question. How much did it cost for this report?
So we raised $40,000 within Crew, and our contract was for $20,000. And we raised that $40,000 in 10 days.
Great. Well done. Thank you.
Very impressive on a whole lot of levels. Great, so
It's for partying. Booze and nibbles, booze and nibbles.
thank you for your presentation today, and we look forward to further discussions around how we use this going forward. Thank you very much. So we will move that up the agenda, but I've got just a couple more things to go through before we get to reports. So we now move on to item 8, members' business. Leaves of absence can be submitted to the Mayor's office. I have no matters of an urgent nature. There is a Mayor's report today. Hasn't been one for a while, so it's a bit like Ben-Hur, but I'll take that as read. And then we move on to reports.
I have something to say about the Mayor's report, if
Sure.
I may. I just wonder whether we could make this a more useful document.
Okay, we can have a conversation
Yeah.
about that. I'm not willing to discuss it right now, though.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just say that if you want to hear a more fulsome kind of rundown of things that happen weekly, I have a weekly column in the Kapiti News, which is also available online. So I'll take item 10.7 first, notice of motion. First, as we move into item 10 reports. So we now have 10.7 notice of motion. This has been brought by Councillor Cooper, so I'll give you a right of introduction to that. Actually, if you want to move it, and we'll find a seconder, and then you've got the right of introduction. So we've got a little bit of an amendment. So can we
Yeah.
have the motion up on the screen with the amendment?
Yeah, I'm a small typo. So
Yeah,
made
not,
the
not,
union,
not
not
picked
United.
up by anyone.
No.
Great. Do I have a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Seconded by Councillor Pavanov. So that's been that the Kapiti Coast District Council receives the coastal hazard risk assessment for the Kapiti Coast report submitted by Coastal Ratepayers United. It's been moved by Councillor Cooper, seconded by Councillor Pavanov. Right of introduction, Councillor Cooper.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't got too much to say, really. This is probably one of the nice things of being a councillor, is being able to support groups in the community who work tirelessly on behalf of the community, often without thanks and without credit. So the instigators of the report, Coastal Ratepayers United, Crew, have worked tirelessly over many years, and in some ways this is the culmination of a decade of work, and I think formally bringing a motion to receive the report is just an acknowledgement and a thank you to all the presidents and secretaries and the workers and the thousands of hours that's put in behind the scenes to make this happen, and it deserves the formality of what we're doing today. So, a big thank you to Salima and Quentin for that work on behalf of the community, and it'll be interesting to see how it's used, if it's used, in what capacity it can actually benefit the community, and I'm sure there'll be some great discussions moving forward. Also, just wanted to reiterate the comments from Quentin in terms of the support from Darren and Chris and Jason and the team. I think it's a testament to the council staff to not have an ego in this space and to accept that there are some very smart people in our community, and sometimes perhaps we're not the smartest people in the room. Well, I'm not, but and to be so open to be forward-looking. So thank you to Darren and the staff as well. So it's with a pleasure that I move this motion.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Halliday.
Yes, 100% supporting the comments from Councillor Cooper. I just wanted to thank crew for your patience last triennium with regards to explaining the Jacobs and the coastal stuff to councillors like myself who are quite naive in the space. In the time, Salima, especially you, walked me through this document. It was much appreciated, and it sort of has led to, I think, where we are now with regards to a great outcome with, from my perspective, understanding your next document that I'm going to be reading through as well. And just wanted to acknowledge the comments around the positivity that's between the two trienniums and the fact that we've got where we've got in a relatively short period of time compared to where the journey that you've had up to this date. So thank you very much for the efforts. It's much appreciated. And look forward to the involvement with the coastal plan change as well. Thank you.
Councillor Provanov.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So I'd like to reiterate the comments that my two colleagues have made, particularly to, I suppose, the executive, Salima and Quentin, for the work that you've done, plus all the experts that you have in behind you. And I suppose that the patience and the resilience that you've had over a number of years, and to me it's about informing elected members and the community about, I suppose, providing us as much information as possible. So I honestly really thank you for going out on a limb again today and coming along today, speaking to us, and seeing that this report is received today. So thank you again. And I really look forward to how this is going to be used moving forward in our district plan. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
I thought Councillor was saying going out on a limb report. Anyway, just also just in this space, just wanted to acknowledge Christopher Ruth, who'd been involved. Christopher's not well at the moment, who was involved, and a lot of other people who you'll be well aware of who have been doggedly determined to keep this going. I think we should all be very pleased that we've got to where we've got to, and the fact that this is an academic approach that's been taken. These tend to be hugely emotive issues, and it's really easy just to fly off in those directions, and then you just start building walls. Darren, I'd just reiterate what's been said already, that breath of fresh air about sort of just having a open door policy is paying enormous dividends, and I think the community benefits from that. So well done you. But again, to crew, we haven't always agreed on everything, but I think the approach has been superb, and what you've delivered is I think going to be an incredibly valuable document for everybody to go through. So well done.
Councillor Handford. Hang on, wait. Oh. Something's happened.
Oh no, there we go. I'm working. That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, just to echo the comments of others around the table, a big thank you to Crew, and similarly to Councillor Wilson's comments. I know that we haven't always seen eye to eye, but to have this report on the table and being formally presented, I think is a really great step in terms of the kind of relationship that hopefully we can share and continue through what is kind of going to be quite a long process ahead of us now to consolidate all of the information that's on the table and find a way through what is a really challenging but also very present issue for our community. So I'm grateful that this is now a part of what's going to be considered by both council and also the wider community, and am really keen to see us making the best use of this information and continuing the community conversation and not just keeping this all on pause until we feel like the heat's kind of been taken out of it. I think there's a lot to be said for keeping the momentum going when it's very timely now to have this report. And so seeing how this fits in with the wider Takutai work program, and then the plan change work, the district planning, I think is something that we have to really keep on top of and keep present in the mahi that council stays focused on, being really conscious of the climate and the impacts of the climate crisis on the Kapiti Coast. I would also really love a searchable PDF. I don't know if that's possible to get. The current one, I'm about a third of the way through reading it properly, but it would be awesome if a searchable PDF could be loaded onto the website. But no worries if not. And yeah, just looking forward to the ongoing conversations. And yeah, thank you, Salima and Quentin and others for all of the work and time. It is really appreciated.
Reid, Larissy.
Thank you. Thank you again, Crew, for the work that you've done. This has been and will continue to be quite a big issue for Raumati, so it's one that we take a close interest in. It's a topic where there's going to be ongoing uncertainty for a long time, so any bit of certainty that we can get for our people is very beneficial. So hopefully this report coming into the mix can help create at least some kind of go forward and maybe some certainty for people. So I think it will be very useful. Glad that we've got a motion to receive it. I think that's important that we acknowledge that piece of work. And if the work stacks up, testing, then it needs to be used. And the LIM got mentioned twice today, so I have to say, given that the Jacobs report was added to the LIMS, presumably this report, if it passes testing, will also be added for full information. But yeah, great to see it landing so that we know what's in it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list of questions to ask about how we implement this report. So thanks for raising that. Right of reply, Councillor Cooper.
Yes, just very briefly, I've very much enjoyed the report. I found it quite an easy read, even though there's a lot of technical and referencing. It's been written in a way that the layperson can read and pretty much understand the contents. So it's a fascinating read, and I'm very excited about meeting Dr. DeLonghi in the briefings that are being planned, and so thanks again to Crew for making that happen, and for Chris, Pravan and staff for making that happen. I think that will be fascinating. So thank you very much, and yeah, look forward to the future. So thank you again, Salima and the Crew.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. So I'll put that to the vote. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you. Well done. So we now move on to 10.1, adoption of the annual report and summary annual report for 2023-24. And I welcome Mark de Haast and team to the table. Cheryl's here in person. Cheryl, would you like to come over here if it's a bit crowded over there? So we're moving on to the next item on the agenda. If people want to have conversations, you could do so in the corridor if that's okay. Thank you. Great. So we're looking forward to this paper today. I will note that this has already been considered by the Risk and Assurance Committee, where there was quite a long discussion. So we look forward to endorsing it today and acknowledge the hard work that's gone in by staff. And I'll pass over to Mark.
Morena, everybody. Thank you, Your Worship. Look, we will take the report as read. There's two versions of the annual report before you today. The full annual report and then the summary annual report. So they're both statutory requirements. They both need to be adopted on or before the 31st of October by Council. As the Mayor has said, it has been before the Risk and Assurance Committee. At that meeting, there were some changes requested, which have been made. One of the changes was to the governance to just set out at the back the meetings or the attendance of meetings by councillors at the council and committee meetings. But we also made some minor edits as well, which have flowed through. I think probably what the covering report probably doesn't really emphasise is that audit have now, Ernst & Young, they've completed their audit of our annual report, so it's subject to, it's now just a procedural matter. Council has to adopt the annual report. Subject to doing that, then we ask both the Mayor and the Chief Executive to sign a letter of representation, which then goes to the audit, and that finalises or closes the process. So I am supported today by both Ian and Cheryl, who've done an incredible amount of work on this, so happy just to move to questions.
Fantastic, thank you. Councillor Coe.
I made a comment at the Audit and Risk Committee about the explanation of the operating surplus of 85.2 million. And I'm not sure that we've quite got the wording right. I'm just wondering, of that surplus, what is the contribution to that of the transfer of assets to council, the roading assets? And can we be
Can
more...
I have a page number for reference?
Page 27.
Thank you.
And can we be more explicit about that? Because I still think, from a layperson's perspective reading this, they're likely to be confused and wonder why we have such a massive operating surplus. So is there can we be more specific about that?
Look, I'd just like to respond to that. So page 26. So absolutely, the question was raised at the Risk and Assurance Committee, and one of the agreements was with our media release we would emphasise the difference. But how we've tried to reflect it is on page 26. We've said 85.2 was the operating surplus, which includes 82 million pertains to the vesting of the old State Highway 1 asset. So we have clarified that 82 is on page 26.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
then on page 27, we do
I was looking at
say
page
82.
27.
Yeah. So look, we've tried to address your concern. We have actually spelled out that 82 relates to the vesting of the highway, and we'll make sure that we emphasise that on the media release.
I'm just wondering whether, just on that page 27, whether it's just a matter of reordering you've got this was mainly due to higher than budgeted, blah, blah. Why not put the assets being vested first as being the highest contributor to that? It just kind of makes it sound like a...
Do you
know what I mean?
Yeah, just a bit of a reword. It would be difficult, and we can sign that off as a minor
Just
editorial
say it's
change.
primarily
Absolutely,
due.
that's
It's just it's just
Yeah.
semantics, but it's primarily due to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And also, just to emphasise the point.
We can
Yeah.
make that change.
Yeah.
That's a minor
Yeah.
editorial change.
Yeah,
so
yeah, minor,
Darren
yeah.
and I can sign that off. Fine. Councillor Warwick? Just waiting for the microphone. No, you don't have to, shouldn't have to do that.
I'm one of the lay people that don't really understand how we get like a gift that's a liability in an old state highway. How does that, like it is a liability, but it's made out to be a gift? Is it because we're getting technically assets? I don't know, I don't understand that. I wasn't at risk of assurance, so.
Yeah. So look, thank you for the question. So look, how it works is Old State Highway 1 becomes a local road. So Wakatahi NZTA give that to the council. So we take ownership of it. So we have to reflect it in our assets, and then we actually have the obligation to maintain that. So, but in terms of the accounting treatment, we account for the transfer of the road from NZTA to council as a vested asset. So we take over ownership, we have to maintain it, and so we have to pay for half of that maintenance, and that's throughout the country.
You make a good point. It's a bit of a loaded gift, isn't it? I'm not seeing any more lights, so I'll
Actually, sorry, I assumed there'd be some more questions.
so you were waiting for the final word of questions, were you, Councillor Halliday?
No, I'll just get myself organised. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, there's no more, so you have to be now.
Excellent. I have 5 questions. They're nothing too onerous. More for clarity from my perspective as such. First one is on the agenda, page 37. Talks to interest income of 5 million. And it's no way this is a negative because that's a positive. But it offsets our interest payments. But I was just wondering, where do we... Oh, sorry. Have you got that on the left-hand side of the page? It
Yes,
says
I do.
Interest income. and
Page
then-
37, the financial table.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So we've got interest there, and there's interest income of on the right-hand side of of $5 million thereabouts, and there's finance expenses of 14 million. I'm picking the interest income offsets the interest. I'm just curious, where do we get $5 million worth of interest from?
Thank you. So that's all part of our treasury management. So we pre-fund. So
That's all from pre-funding?
we get that from pre-funding.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
That's significant.
Yeah, we've got $80 million sitting on pre-funding.
Yeah.
And we are managing. We're borrowing.
Yeah.
What we borrow for is less than what we can invest it for. So
Yeah.
it comes from the pre-funding program.
I thought it was nickel and dime stuff, to be honest. So I just wanted to highlight if that was the case because that's pretty significant
Nice
with
pickup.
regards to things. So I appreciate that. I'm actually on the appendices now with the actual report, if
Yep.
that's cool. Page 22. There's some performance measures there. So the partnership performance measure has dropped down by 10%. As such, down to 50, and I just wanted an overview of what does this signify, if possible. That's the second measure that's on there. Page 22, 17 of the actual document, but 22 of the appendices. Oh, sorry, so if you're looking through, that would be page 17 of the appendices, You've got the summary, you've got the, we had the summary in the agenda, we've got the actual report in the appendices, but there's 1,000 pages in there. So on the appendices it's page 22, but it's page 17 of the actual annual report. You've got that, I think? Sorry,
So
There's
thank you.
4 circles there. One is the community services performance, there's partnership performance, planning and regulatory performance, and corporate performance. So the partnership performance measures as of 30th June sits at 50%. Answers on page 79. I'm aware of that, but I just wanted to give an overview. I mean, we've dropped as such. Do you think it's just, I'm just curious to know what the thoughts might be around this with regards to, do you think it's just there's some negative perceptions about local government at the moment as such? Has that been a driver for this?
So we've got an answer for you if
Oh,
you
sorry.
want to finish your question. Okay. The Chief Executive.
I'll just refer you to page 81
Okay.
of the report. So you'll see what the deliverables are there, the performance measures, and where we haven't met those. So currently the review of Te Whakamininga o Kapiti, first 6 months of the training hasn't been met.
Okay.
So that's being progressed.
Yep.
And then the first one there, the partnership agreements are in place with each of our EU partners. So we hadn't achieved that. Those are now in place.
Would be a fair comment to say that might banks up at the next report.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Next door to it, though, there is the planning and regulatory. So on page 40 of the appendices, page 35 of the annual report. Sorry, I'll just get to it. Oh, hang on, what have we got here? 35, sorry, page. Sorry, 30, it's page 40 of the.
Appendices.
it's
Yep, I think
confusing.
we've got it. It's the page of performance
It's around the
measures
service
related to
requests.
infrastructure.
There was an 85% is what we're looking for. 70%, 60% was achieved. Now the explanation was alignment between the measure and contractor response time is responsible. I think responsible for the significant change. But I'm under the impression that that process is being updated as such. Is that the case? And I was just wondering if that is the case, when will that be addressed so that it impacts us perhaps in a little bit more of a positive way? So page 40 of the.
I'm just waiting for Cheryl's
Sorry, page
microphone
40 of the
for an
appendices.
answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for that question. The system that we've got at the moment doesn't prevent a contractor from entering in the time that they actually responded to a service request correctly. It allows them to. It even allows them to close it off before it was opened, which doesn't make much sense to us. But there's a heck of a lot of them in the roading space. So we didn't have enough time to properly cleanse all of that data. We've got a new process that keeps it updated and nice and clean for the purposes of these measures going forward. And of course, the new ERP system we're seeking to actually remove that human error element from those from service requests. So,
thank you.
Actually, my apologies, that was brought up at Audit and Risk. I wasn't 100% sure if it was or not. So that was answered there as well. On page 153, let's see if I've got the right one here, sorry. No, it's actually, where are we? Sorry, it's 153 of the annual report.
So what page is that in the agenda so we can just skip to it?
Sorry, I'm getting myself a little bit confused here because of the lining up of things. It's to do with the full-time equivalent employees.
Page 153 of the agenda.
153 of the agenda. Yep, that's right. I just want to get some clarity on a definition. At the top left-hand side of the page, it talks to full-time equivalents in head count,
Yes.
and I just wanted to just get an understanding of the difference.
Yeah, thank you. So any staff that work 37.5 hours or more a week are deemed to be a full-time equivalent.
Yep.
So we have a number of staff, for example, lifeguards, casuals, that don't do 37.5 hours a week. So the difference is the difference between, on page 153, the top table, we're saying that we've got FTE equivalents of 414, but total headcount of 478. So anyone that's working 37.5 hours or more a week as an FTE, the headcount is then adding on top of the FTEs the staff that are actually working less than 37.5. So those are the actual physical number of people that are in the organisation. Some of those people don't do 37.5 hours a week, they do less. So they're not included in the FTE count.
Okay. I think I've got that. That's pretty much what I thought. I just wanted to get clarity on that. And the other one's just an understanding of a wording. He talked on page. Sorry, I'm getting this all mixed up. I think it's 151 of the report.
151.
Yeah. So is it back to? No, maybe it's not. I've got, or 156 of the appendices. Yeah, 151. No, sorry, it is 151 of the report. What is 151 of the report? Apologies.
Copy 158 of the agenda.
Yeah, 150, 158, yeah. Look, there's a word there called betterment value. I think it's in the top paragraph. The purchase was made under the Public Works Act, which is entitled to receive a betterment value of 2.7 million. I just don't understand what betterment value means.
Yeah, thank you. So we're on page 156. 156 of the agenda.
Yeah.
And the question relates
Number
to
28,
the note
around assets.
around assets. So the betterment value is so put simply, that note is basically recognising that. So we've purchased the land for the East-West Link Road. When that road has been built, it increases the value of the adjoining property. So we're entitled to be reimbursed for that betterment. So it's a $2.7 million payment that we'll receive for improving the value of the adjacent property from putting that road in. It's not certain. The timing is not certain, so we haven't reflected it in the accounts, which is why it's a note to the account that at some point in time we have a possible asset of $2.7 million, which is called betterment value.
Is it a cash payment that we will
Yes.
receive? And who do we receive that from specifically? I mean, or in theory?
A developer, but I might transfer
Right,
the
okay.
question to Sean.
The landowner, basically.
Okay.
So with any public works process, if you're taking land for a development, a road, or there is sometimes there will be an element of betterment associated with what you're developing on that site, and so that's reflected in that calculation. And so once it's completed, then you would, I guess, that would become available in terms of the $2.7 million.
Okay. Yeah, lovely. Okay, thank you. That was it for me. Thank you.
Great, Martin. Okay, so we're not seeing any more lights on, so we'll move the recommendations. I'm happy to move A and B on page 13 of the agenda that we adopt the annual report, and actually I don't know if I can delegate to myself, so I'll let the Deputy Mayor move, and Councillor Coe is seconding A and B on page 13 of the council agenda. Right of introduction? Waived.
Waived.
Any further discussion? Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, excellent report. What was notable for me was what was missing. And I know annual reports are usually fairly dry, but I thought there should have been at least 50 or 60 pages about the importance of arts and creativity to who we are and what we do and why we do it. That was missing. In fact, I could even find 5 or 10 pages on it, or any pages on it. I just think we've got an arts trail this weekend, by the way, people who don't know that. And then we've got another one the week after that. And you will see on full display just how important that sector is to our community. I would like to see in annual reports and any kind of reports that somehow reflected, even if it's a paragraph about this is who we are, this is what we do better than anybody else in the country, collectively and individually. Dear end is my little speech, but I do think that should be reflected. Anyway, good report.
So we had a discussion about our council priorities just the other day and made sure that it's far more explicit in there how important that is to us as elected members in terms of our priorities. I've also had a conversation with the new Connected Communities structure team about that having happened, and I think the message has also been firmly received and understood by the economic development team. Of course, that area of council crosses over different work streams and different focus groups within council, so definitely a focus for me as mayor as we go into the next year. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of a different picture in the next annual report. In the meantime, I think we can console ourselves that there is a lot of activity in that space happening, even if it's not reflected in the pages we see in front of us today to such an extent. Councillor Coe?
Yeah, just to follow on from that, I think the reason it doesn't appear in a financial report is that we're not spending any money on the arts.
Good point.
I would just like to congratulate Councillors Halliday and Wilson for 100% attendance at meetings. That's all I have to say. Well done, guys. Thank you.
Councillor Kirby. They're very lucky not to have got COVID in the last 3 years. I don't know if that table is a very fair representation of people's commitment. Anyway, Councillor Kirby.
Are we finished? Because I was going to take my right of reply.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Halliday.
Look, as I was saying, is after falling out of a tree, it was a bit of an effort, but I just find this stuff so fascinating. I just want to thank council officers for the report. I found it a really, really interesting report. Compared to previous years, I really enjoyed the breakdowns, especially around the wages and all that sort of stuff, and suppliers and that sort of thing there as well. I found it very, very informative. Hence why I just had some clarity on some certain words and that bits and pieces. So I just want to say thank you very much.
I'll just add one thing, and that is we retained our credit rating when a lot of other councils went down, and that by itself is such a major achievement, and everything else falls out of that, really. So congratulations, Mark. That was just and the team behind you. It's such an enormous achievement. So, yeah, well done. Councillor Kirby, right of reply?
I'll just reference, if anyone wants to listen to my fulsome right of reply, it is in the risk and assurance recording. I'm not going to say it all again other than to congratulate staff. This last year with our long-term plan and the end of the previous long-term plan, there's been a lot of work that's been piled on you. Some by us as councillors and the curveballs we threw you through the new long-term plan process, and just wanted to acknowledge the work that staff have done above and beyond to get to this point, and echo the other comments from our other councillors. So thank you. It's great to be able to land this report today and have a clear audit. That is also very important for us as a council to have that. So thank you.
Thank you. So I'll put that to the vote. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Congratulations. Well done. Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you to you too, Labour. Love. So we will. Who feels like they need a comfort stop, because we can go on to the representation review and stop halfway through if we need to. I think we'll do that. We'll move on, and if we haven't got through this by about, I don't know, 10 in about half an hour, then we'll take a break then.
We might need to break. We're having trouble with the live stream, I think. Do you need us to break?
Well, we have a technical difficulty, so we'll need to take a break anyway. So we'll come back in 10 minutes or so.